And I usually start these conversations the same way, just trying to understand how you fell into prop tech in the first place. Because usually where I ask where people got started, it seems to be something people fall into by chance or by accident.
So I started on the operator side for about 6 to 7 years. I ran marketing and training for a regional operator out of the Midwest. And I have pretty deep roots in multifamily marketing. I mean, that was nearly a decade ago that I really got started in multifamily. Same situation. I didn't try to get into multifamily. I got my grad degree. I was ready for like my next big thing. There was this job in the city that I currently live in. And I was like, okay, this sounds interesting. Apartment marketing. I've never done that before. And I just absolutely fell in love. And I think, you know, you hear the saying too, like once you're in, it's really hard to get out because there's just like a really interesting niche that people fall in love with. So yeah, I have really deep roots in multifamily marketing on the operator side, where I've spent most of my career in multifamily thus far. And now I'm on the supplier side. I'm in PropTech, and I saw firsthand when I was on the operator side the really large gap between what renters needed and how operators were limited in their ability to market their properties primarily due to the technology limitations and the extremely large archaic marketing practices in our industry. Literally at that time, we're talking 2018-ish, probably 5 to 10 years behind in some of our marketing practices in the industry. And Better PropTech was the solution to fill that gap as it is in so many ways. And so, you know, fast forward 6 to 7 years and I go to the supplier side, which is where I'm at now. So it's a very natural next step for me. And it gave me a way to eliminate some of the archaic marketing practices in our industry and help solve and scale those solutions, unifying leasing and marketing with better technology, just really doing away with the inadequate tech that we've been trained to be okay with. So overall, my career has been about bridging people, process, and product, and PropTech really gave me the platform to connect all of those together.
In terms of your personal experience being a female leader within the PropTech space, is it something that you're consciously aware of, something that you've noticed for, you know, as long as you've been here, or is it something that you actually harness as a bit of a superpower for yourself?
I think it's both. It's definitely like when you're underrepresented, depending on what what you identify as or what community that you're a part of. And you walk into a room and you're underrepresented. It's hard not to notice that you're underrepresented. And being a female in technology or in prop tech, throughout my entire career, that's always been the case. Females are generally underrepresented, particularly at higher and higher levels in management and leadership and in the executive space as well. So it is both like blatantly obvious when you walk into the room, or there's not a literal seat at the table for a female executive at your company. But there is, you know, depending on the culture that's at hand, an immense opportunity as well.
Now, I'm sure a lot of people have seen the post around multifamily women's events and how, I guess, it's being disputed whether they actually empower women in this space or if it actually, albeit subconsciously, actually ostracizes us a bit more. But I'm keen to know whether you've seen the back and forth, and if so, what your opinion is on that.
Yeah, I've seen the back and forth. I think I've read every comment and reply on the various posts that have happened this last week or two. And I see both sides of it. So I think women's conferences and women-led, women-only community is incredibly important. There's a lot of nuances and complexities of being a woman in the workplace. And it's an area and opportunity for women to come together and truly work to build each other up without the additional complexities and political barriers that exist and are inherent in a lot of workplaces and political environments today. And I'm absolutely in favor of having those conferences for those different communities who want to come together and have shared experiences and being a part of that community.
Yeah.
However, that does not mean that we cannot and should not do better in the existing conferences, the larger conferences today, where everyone goes to, men, women, people of color, women of color, of various diverse backgrounds. It's very important that we break down those barriers in other conferences, Apartmentalize and AIM and Blueprint and OpTech and so on and so forth, and make sure that we have equitable access to education and that women and other communities are being brought to the forefront with the help of everybody in our multifamily community, and that those voices are being raised up, because that's where we're going to find the most progress and most power, is when we can all come together and lift each other up. And the women's conferences is a way to try and navigate the other complexities that we have, but it's up to everyone to make sure that we can really build each other up and bring those voices up together.
Yeah, I agree. And I think some of the barriers, I mean, this is just one example. I can't remember if it was RecCon, I think maybe earlier this year, and how the welcome event, for example, was a round of golf. That's not to say that there's not some absolute kick-ass golf players that are female golf players out there that can go and get involved. But again, I remember seeing that with my colleagues. There was 3 of us out there, 3 ladies, and we just said, that's such a shame that that's not a hike, or it's a shame that it's not a morning stretch session or a yoga or something that doesn't actually require any prior skills, thing that isn't so heavily weighted, I guess, towards one side of the attendees.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And I think whoever's putting on that welcome event needs to take into the consideration the historical nature of whatever is happening. So generally golf has been, a Caucasian and men's sport, especially when it comes to business. Like, you go play golf when you're doing a business event, and largely women aren't. I've now more than ever, they're a part of those events, but historically it's been male focused events. So yeah, and then there's complexities with trying to create a hike or a run. I'm not a runner myself, so I would have to sit that one out. But it's like creating equitable ways as much as you possibly can to be inclusive of everybody who could be a part of that conversation. And it's very similar to how very deep sports metaphors are sometimes used in business talk around a table. And not everybody knows sports, whether you're male or female, but it's using plainer language, more equitable language to, again, just be inclusive and allow everybody to be a part of the conversation.
If you were going to say anything to women already in PropTech, women looking to get into PropTech, like in terms of what we can do on the ground now to make sure that we do level that playing field, is there any advice you'd give, or any words of wisdom you'd like to share?
Yeah, a few pieces of advice. And from what I've learned and what I've been able to observe in my career thus far is, first and foremost, that your voice matters, and don't wait for permission to use it. You might not ever get permission from the people in this space to use it. So it means speaking up when something doesn't sit right. It means speaking up when you have an idea. It means raising your hand when nobody else is raising their hand. It means raising your hand when everybody else is raising their hand, no matter who's at the table. I like to visualize an actual chair sometimes, like on my desk, or I talk about it with the team members that I lead, the female team members that I lead. And like, you physically deserve to have a seat at the table, no matter what that table looks like. And so with that, building a really strong network of mentors and peers is very important. Both people outside of your, community, having male mentors and female mentors is very important to me. And gaining support from others who've walked the same path of you makes an incredible amount of difference from how you look at your career and how you navigate the complexities of what's ahead of you, both on a daily basis and long term as well. And the last thing I'll say is stay extremely curious and adaptable. Culture and tech evolves very fast, and in order to be at the forefront of that and make sure that you can raise your hand and you have a seat at the table, and that your voice does matter, that you need to stay sharp and stay relevant and keep being willing to learn and put yourself forward.
But thanks for your time today, Autumn.